I've been talking about the yamas and niyamas, which is the ethical practices of yoga, how we take what we experience here on the mat into our everyday life. Today, we're going to talk about what's called Aparigrapha, which means non-possessiveness, non-attachment. And so what I want you to consider, what I invite you to consider as we move through practice today is, what are the attachments that you hold on to? So those can be thoughts, it can be judgments, it's the emotional baggage that you bring into each moment with you. It can be things, it can be people. We have an opportunity over this next hour to practice just letting some of that go. So when you find your mind grasping or holding on to something, can you offer it the opportunity to let go? And probably the greatest teacher to us in this area is actually the breath. Because if you think about it, you inhale, but you can't hold your breath forever, right? At some point, you have to let go and you have to exhale. One of the things we know is that when people can't take a deep breath, oftentimes it's because they haven't exhaled fully. So in a moment, I'm going to offer you the opportunity to engage in a breath practice that will help you to experience what it feels like to fill the breath and then to release it fully. So as we come here, I invite you just to begin by taking a brief scan through the body, starting at the feet, going up through the calves, the knees, the thighs, the hips, noticing the torso, feeling the hands and their points of connection either to the body or to the earth, the shoulders, the back of the head. And then let your attention make a U-turn and travel back through your head, through your face, maybe noticing if you are gripping or grasping any tightness in your face. See if you can let that go. Traveling through the chest, the torso, the hips, the legs, the knees, and then out the feet. And then I invite you to allow your attention to rest wherever it is that you felt the breath the most significantly in the body. That may be different for everyone, and that's okay. Perhaps you place your hand on that place so that you can feel the inhale and the exhale. I invite you to just become curious about your breath in this place. So noticing the quality of the inhale, the quality of the exhale. Noticing how you breathe in and you can't breathe in anymore. And then you release so that you can then take in the next breath. It's not until you've released the previous one that you can take in the next one. I invite you to notice the pause between the inhale and the exhale, and between the exhale and the inhale. Not doing anything with that yet, just noticing it. Now I invite you to begin to extend that pause. So perhaps you hold the breath at the top for maybe a count of 2 or 3, whatever's comfortable for you. You exhale slowly, and then you hold with no breath for a count of 2 or 3 or 4. Perhaps you could even out the inhale and even out the exhale to match the pause of your breath. So maybe you breathe in while you count to 4, you hold while you count to 4, you breathe out while you count to 4, and you hold while you count to 4. Continue playing with this pattern of inhaling, pausing, letting go, and pausing before you take the next breath for about the next minute or so. For the next few inhales and exhales, can allow the breath to return to normal, just a normal rhythm that feels natural for you. But remember that feeling of inhaling fully and then letting it go before you take the next breath as we move through practice today. Go ahead and draw the knees into the chest. A little Apanasana. You can kick your props out of the way. We will eventually use them again, as we always do. Grab your tune-up balls. Yep, everybody have a set? Correct. Bring your, laying flat on your back, bringing your feet underneath your knees, kind of in like a bridge prep. And take the tune-up balls out of the net and place one under each butt cheek, for lack of a better term. And then once you're there, we'll spend about a minute and a half just rolling around on them. So getting up in that piriformis muscle, which is kind of right at the top of your sacrum, finding a place that feels good and like your body's like, you really need to do this right here. Do it right there. We'll take just about a minute and a half to open up the fascia in the hips and the glutes. So our hips are often said to be the closet of our body. It's where we hold all of our emotional baggage, which makes sense because your hips are the connecting point between your upper and lower body. It's where all that force is transferred from your brain, which says it's time to take a step, to your legs, which actually do take a step. So a lot of stuff tends to get stuck there. Our fascia is that connective tissue that binds our whole body together. So when you can release tension in one area, you often find that it releases tension in other areas as well. It shouldn't hurt. So if it hurts, like it shouldn't hurt bad. It might feel good hurt, but not bad hurt. So if it does, you might want to back off. About 15 more seconds here. Okay, coming to a place of stillness, you can press into the heels and lift the hips just enough to be able to remove the tune-up balls from under your hips. Go ahead and take the feet wider than hips distance apart, perhaps even pointing, so they're kind of the width of the mat. Perhaps even pointing the toes a little bit out to the side. Inhale deep into the belly, and on an exhale, allow the knees to fall to the right. Inhaling up through center, and on an exhale, allowing the knees to fall to the left. Inhaling through center, exhaling, allowing the knees to fall to the right. Perhaps the head turns to the left, if that feels available. Inhaling up through center, exhaling the knees to the left. Continuing in this pattern and time with your own breath for just a few moments, beginning to wake up the spine. And you can play with the location of the feet. It might be that mat's distance apart is too much. That's okay. After you've evened out the next side, go ahead and bring the knees back to center and draw the knees into the chest again for Apanasana pose, or a little snail pose on our back. Can rock back and forth along the spine, along the low back. Again, noticing that the closer your knees are into the chest, the higher in your back you're going to find the little massage action. So you might play with moving your knees in and out, noticing where you feel it in your body. The next time the knees come to the right, go ahead and let them fall all the way to the right. Roll over onto your right shoulder. And then on an exhale, allow that left shoulder to open back toward the mat for a supine twist. Yeah, there you go. And that left arm, left hand can be on the ribs, it can be on the shoulder, can be extended long. Inhaling through center, exhaling, going ahead and letting the knees fall to the left. Repeating this on the other side. So allowing that right shoulder now to open toward the mat. The hand can be on the rib cage, it can be on the shoulder. Your supine twist. Inhaling the knees back to center. We'll find ourselves in a bridge prep pose. So you'll want the feet to be on the mat, the knees bent, the heels pretty much underneath the knees. So you're in kind of a, you don't want your feet too far away from your hips, but you don't want them so close that it feels uncomfortable. play with it and figure out what feels good. The arms are extended long alongside you along the mat, the palms pressing into the mat. On an inhale, we'll press into the heels and lift the hips up toward the ceiling for a bridge pose. We'll hold here for 5 more breaths, noticing if you have any attachments to the ideas about bridge pose. Doesn't matter how good it is for you, sometimes it's not comfortable. After your 5th breath, you can allow your hips to find the earth again. Maybe windshield wiper the knees. Coming back to stillness. On the next inhale, we'll press into the heels and lift the hips toward the earth again. Or toward the sky, toward the ceiling. Sorry about that. This time, what I would ask you to consider is, can you energetically imagine pushing the mat away from you with your feet? Notice how that wakes up the front part of the body, a little bit of your core, a little bit of your quads. We'll hold here for 5 breaths again. After your 5th breath, you can allow the hips to find the earth and windshield wiper the knees to release that just a little bit. Coming back into stillness with 1 more bridge pose for us. Pressing into the heels. On an inhale, we'll lift the hips toward the sky. This time, I invite you to imagine energetically pulling the mat back toward you with your feet. So there's no actual movement, but there is a lot of engagement that happens in the back of the body. Again, holding for 5 breaths. Our back bodies tend to not get a lot of strength, and this is one of the ways we build it. After your 5th breath, you can allow the hips to find the earth and pull the knees in toward the chest, maybe rocking back and forth. And then grab your strap. This is Marcia's favorite thing ever. And finding yourself laying back on your back with the knees bent. We'll take the strap around the ball of the right foot and extend the right leg up toward the ceiling. So the knee can be bent. If your hamstrings are tight, it's pretty early in practice. The knee can still be bent. But with each inhale, I invite you to imagine sending the breath to the back of that right leg. And with each exhale, I invite you to imagine releasing, so letting go more into this stretch. Your body can, a lot of times, our thoughts or opinions make us clench up and tighten up. And it makes it hard to release into the stretch. Beginning to tick-tock that leg from like 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock. So just crossing the body. You can allow it to go as far to either side as feels available to you. You just don't want that left hip to come up off the mat. If you find a place that feels good, stay there. It might feel good when you bring your leg across the body to go ahead and turn the foot inward. So the pinky toe side of the foot is pointed up toward the ceiling. It's kind of turned inside the strap. You get this really nice, juicy, also sometimes doesn't feel great stretch along those tendons that run along the side of your outside of your calf. Yep. Bringing the leg back to center. Go ahead and bring the left foot to the mat and take or left foot to the mat. Yep, left foot to the mat. Keep your right foot in the strap. There you go. Left foot's to the mat like it's in bridge pose, bridge prep. Yep, there you go. Take the strap in your left hand. So the right foot's in the strap is being held by your left hand. Your left knee is bent with the foot on the mat. There you go. Use the strap to draw your knee in towards your chest, your right knee in towards your chest. And then using the resistance of the strap, go ahead and kick that right leg out toward the front of the room, out toward me. Take your right hand overhead and get this really big, tall stretch. You can let your low back come off the mat. Bring your foot in underneath for a second. Take it this way. There you go. There you go. Yeah. So doing this, you are releasing your psoas muscle on your right side, which is the muscle that connects your lumbar spine to your femur. It's responsible for you moving. It's also responsible for whether or not you can take a deep breath. We don't release it very often. Breathe deep here for maybe 2 more breaths. And then bring that right foot back in. You can allow both feet to be on the mat for just a second. Just check in with your body. Maybe windshield wiper a little bit. And then we'll take our left foot in the strap, extend it up toward the ceiling. Awesome. Same thing, noticing if you have any cognitive or emotional attachments to this pose. So the stretching of the back of that left leg. Can you breathe deep? Send the breath to the back of that left leg. And as you exhale, can you release further into the stretch? The right foot can stay on the mat or it can extend long, be straight out toward the end of the mat. Kind of depends on your body and what you feel like you need. You can begin tick-tocking that left leg from 10 o'clock to 2 o'clock or 9 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Whatever feels good, but allows your right hip to stay firmly rooted into the mat. If you find a place that feels good, stay there. Bring that left leg across the body. You can rotate the foot inside the strap so that the pinky edge of the foot is pointed up toward the ceiling. It's like parallel with the ceiling. And you get that deep, deep, deep release on the outside of the left leg. Bringing the leg back to center. Bring the right foot to the mat with the knee bent. Yep. Take the strap into the right hand. Use that strap to pull that left knee way in toward the chest. And then extend the left leg using the resistance of the strap toward the front of the room and extend that left arm up above you, allowing the low back to float off the mat. 2 more breaths here. After the next full exhale, and allow that exhale to be full. Bring both feet back to the mat. Just take a moment and notice the area in your low belly. You may not feel anything different, but do you potentially feel a little bit more space for the breath there? From here, we'll draw the knees into the chest and we're going to end up in a seat. So you decide how you want to get there. One of the fun ways is to kind of rock and roll along the spine and ultimately rock your way up to a seat. In a seated position, I like to sit on a blanket, elevates my hips. We will meet facing the front of the room in a seat. How are we doing? Good. One of the things we've talked about each week is that there's a hand position or a hand shape that goes with each of the yamas and niyamas that helps to kind of reinforce it in a different way. And the shape for Aparigrapha is you take your hands, you kind of face them next to each other, and then link your fingers. So your right hand's on top, your left hand's on the bottom, and have them linked kind of loosely. Yeah, there you go. Sitting up nice and tall, but pulling the fingers a little bit away from each other. Feeling that push and pull. So we'll stay here for just a moment, reconnecting with the breath. Perhaps you bring yourself back to that 4-count breathing. Breathing in for 4, holding for 4, breathing out for 4, holding for 4. Feeling the spine long, the sits bones rooted into the earth. The next inhale, we'll release the hands, bring the arms straight up overhead for a big stretch up overhead. Exhaling, we'll goalpost the arms for a little back bend, lifting the chin a little bit up toward the ceiling. Inhaling the arms straight back overhead again. Exhaling, we'll bring the left hand down to the mat and we will laterally stretch over toward the left. It's just a quiet song. Stay there for just another moment. Another breath. While you're here, perhaps you can move your chest up toward the ceiling and down toward the mat. Feeling what that feels like. On an inhale, come back upright, but go ahead and take that right hand to the left ear and allow the right ear to fall toward the right shoulder. There you go. And that hand is not pulling the head. It's just applying the littlest bit of light gravity to help release the neck on the left side. You can move the chin up and down, forward and back. Go ahead and release that. We'll bring both arms up overhead on an inhale. Exhaling, we'll bring the right hand to the mat for a lateral stretch over to the right side. Again, staying here, you can move the chest open toward the ceiling, close it toward the mat, finding a place that feels good to open the side body. Noticing if that left shoulder creeps up toward the ear, can you offer it the opportunity to relax down the body, relax down the back. Inhaling back upright, bringing the left hands to the right side of the head, allowing the left ear to start to melt down toward the left shoulder. Again, not pulling at all with the hand, just allowing the hand to apply some gravity. Open that right side of the neck. And back upright. We'll take the right hand to the left knee and the left hand behind you, sitting up nice and tall on an inhale. And then on an exhale, we'll twist toward the prop wall. And when we're twisting, we're not using the hands to pull. We're using the core to twist so that you could even maybe release your hands and notice that the body doesn't move. Each inhale brings you taller. Each exhale takes you deeper into the twist. Inhaling back to center, bringing the hands up overhead. Bringing the hands through heart center, starting to hinge forward at the hips and walk the hands away from the feet for a forward fold. Once you've kind of hinged as far as you can hinge, you can allow the head and the shoulders to hang. Walking the hands back toward the feet, we will switch the feet. So whichever foot was in front, switch to the other one. And then we will take our left hand to our right knee and the right hand behind you, sitting up nice and tall, and on an exhale, twisting toward the window. Twists help to wring out the toxins that are in our body. They wring out our organs like a washcloth being wrung out. So when we think about letting go, deep twists are one of the ways that we embody that principle. Inhaling to unwind, lifting the arms up overhead. Exhaling to bring the hands through heart center, walking the hands forward for another forward fold. Again, hinging at the hips. And once you've hinged as far as you can hinge, allowing the head and the shoulders to relax. Walking the hands back toward the feet, we will come over into a tabletop position. So in a table, my hip is unhappy with life. I'm going to face this direction. I always have a hard time deciding which way. So finding yourself in your tabletop position, the hands are planted firmly on the mat. You feel the full palm of the hand connected with the mat. Fingertips are pointed toward the front of the mat. The knees are under the hips. You're pushing into the hands and maybe dialing those triceps inward so that you find some engagement in the upper back. On the next inhale, we can drop the belly and lift the tailbone, lift the head for a cow pose. Exhaling, pushing into the hands to arch the back and drop the head. Inhaling to our cow pose. Exhaling to a cat pose. Continuing in some variation of cat-cow movements for the next several rounds of breath, but knowing that you don't have to stay in this box. So you move the way it feels good to move to you. It might mean taking some circles. It might mean exaggerating your cat-cow. It might mean taking a child's pose. After the next round, we'll come back into stillness with the knees under the hips, the wrists under the shoulders. Tuck the toes. Inhale deep through the nose. Exhale like you're blowing out through the straw. Finding the lower core engage. On the next inhale, press into the toes and the hands and lift the knees just a couple inches off the mat for a little hovering table. We'll hold here for 5 breaths. Exhaling, we'll let the knees find the mat again. Press in, you might walk the hands about a hand's distance forward. Keep the toes tucked. We're going to press into the hands and push the hips up and back into downward facing dog. So when you go into downward facing dog, you want to extend the shoulders as far as they can extend first. Maybe come back down on your knees. So begin to push into your shoulders. There you go. Now begin to lift the hips back. There you go. You feel that? That feel different? Good. You can walk your dog here. So you can, which means bending one knee, bending the other knee, looking down at your knees rather than holding the head up. Awesome. And on an inhale, looking at the hands and walking the feet to meet the hands, we find ourselves in a forward fold. On an inhale, we'll very slowly roll up through the spine. Bring the arms up overhead. Exhaling the hands to heart center. Perhaps they find that Ganesha mudra one more time. Take a moment to find your mountain pose here. So rolling the feet inward and outward. Maybe going backward and forward. Getting to the point where you feel that your feet, the fullness of your feet is firmly planted on the ground. Drawing the attention up through the pelvis, noticing if it's tilted forward or backward. Can you find that neutral space? Can you relax the shoulders down the back? Can you allow the crown of the head to grow tall while the chin tucks back in toward the chest so the back of the neck is long? Beautiful. And take a moment here just to breathe. From here on an inhale, we'll lift the arms up overhead. Sit back into chair pose. So sitting back like you're sitting in a chair, bringing the hips back. There you go. You can look in front of your knees and see the toes. There you go. We're going to hold here for 3 more breaths because it's good to strengthen the back of the body. I promise it is. Amy, if you tilt your torso forward and take your hips back a little bit more, does that feel better? A little bit? It's hard, yeah. Awesome. On an inhale, we'll stand up tall. Big stretch up toward the ceiling. Exhaling to forward fold. Let the hands find the mat or the blocks. Take the right foot back into up runner. So runner stretch. So in our runner stretch, you want to make sure that your left knee is not forward of the left heel. Right. Well done. Yes, blocks bring the mat up to you, which is very helpful at times. Do you want your blocks? Here. There you go. Awesome. Go ahead and drop that right knee to the mat. Shift the hips back over the right knee. Lift the arms up overhead. Exhaling to goalpost the arms for a little back bend. Inhaling the arms back overhead. taking that left forearm to the left thigh, and we'll tilt over toward the left. Breathing deep. Scissoring that front heel and the back knee to create some stability in the pelvis. Helps you to find balance here. Inhaling back up to center, bringing both hands back to the mat or blocks, coming back up on that left toe or right toe, whatever, the back toe. Stepping the back foot up to meet the front foot, hanging in forward fold for just a moment. Then rolling up through the spine, bringing the arms overhead. Exhaling the hands to heart center. And we'll repeat on the other side. So we'll inhale the arms up overhead. Exhale the hands through heart center. Let the hands find the blocks or a mat. Step the left foot back this time to our right up runner. So again, making sure that that right knee is not forward of the right heel. If it is, maybe you can move that front foot forward a little bit. Awesome. Go ahead and drop that left knee to the mat. Shift the hips back over the left knee. Tilt the pelvis down, the tailbone down toward the mat, and find that stretch in the front of the left leg. Yeah, shift your hips back. Arms up overhead. Awesome. Goalpost the arms as you exhale. Inhaling the arms back overhead, bringing that right forearm to the right thigh, laterally stretching over toward the right. Imagine pulling that mat together with that right heel and that left knee. Bring that left arm back overhead, both arms overhead for a tall stretch. Bring both hands to the mat or blocks, come back up on those back toes. Step the back foot up to meet the front foot. From here, sit the hips back, find yourself in chair pose. Awesome. It's hard. Yeah, it is hard. It is hard. So from here, if you would like a little challenge, an opportunity to let go, bring the hands to heart center or to Ganesha Mudra. Rise up on the toes. Ooh, I'll use that core. You want to take it a step further, straighten the knees. Up on the toes. Ah, and then drop the heel. We laugh, right? We let go of attachments. We're going to try to reverse it. See how it goes. Take a breath. Breathe in, breathe out. Let go of whatever attachments to thoughts or opinions or judgments you might have. Inhaling, rise up on the toes. Exhaling, whoops, bend the knees and sit the hips back for a tiptoe chair. Take a breath here. Bring the heels to the mat. Find yourself back in your chair pose. Inhaling to stand up tall. Exhaling the hands to heart center. So bring the hands back to Ganesha Mudra. There's also a body posture that goes with each of the yamas and niyamas. This one is a little much for the knees, I think. So I'm going to give you 3 different options for it, and you decide what feels good for you. The first option is with the hands like this, just twisting. So standing up nice and tall on an inhale, exhaling to twist the body toward the prop wall. Keeping both feet firmly planted on the ground. Exhaling back to center. Inhaling tall here. Exhaling to twist toward the window. The hips can move, but try to keep the feet firmly planted on the ground. Inhaling back to center. So the next round, you can do that again. Or if you would like to take the next extension of the pose, you can sit back into chair pose with the hands in the same posture and take a twist in chair pose, which is dicey. So you can twist just like this. You can, if you can sit far enough into your chair pose, hook that right elbow on the left knee. Stay right where you are. What is true and full of integrity for you? Coming back to center, we'll go to the other side. What I love is that you all are doing what is right for you. That makes me so happy. Coming back to center, standing up tall. One more level. I will show it. You can let me know what you think. You can continue to stand and twist. You can sit in a chair and twist, or you can sit back into a chair pose, keep sitting back, lift the heels off the ground, so I said hard on the knees, and you twist in this posture. Any of the three options give you the same benefit. Remember, deep twists, wring out those toxins, come back through center, use the core, twist to the other side, come back to center, drop the heels, stand up tall, forward fold, let it hang. Maybe in this forward fold, you shake the head around, you shake the arms, you bend the knees, just let it go. What did you say, shake, Laura? Just let it go. Let go of whatever opinions or attachments or judgments or thoughts there were about that activity. You all did amazing. From here, we'll plant the hands onto the earth. Go ahead and step both feet back into a high plank just for a second. Drop the knees, shift the shoulders out over the arms, come down onto your belly. So with both hands kind of stacked under your forehead, with your forehead on the mat, yeah, like this. It's called crocodile pose. Let's take a minute here just to allow the breath to calm the body. So when you feel especially shaken up, protecting and calming the front part of the body can help to calm you down, feeling the breath in both the front and the back of the body. Feeling the heart rate slow down, the energy that's flowing lessen just a little bit, or cool just a little bit. Bringing the hands under the shoulders and pressing back into a child's pose just for a moment. Pressing the hips back to the heels. Yep, for a child's pose. Just for a moment. There you go. Perfect. On an inhale, walking the hands back toward the knees. Take your bolster. Well, I'm going to give you some, again, variations and options. So we're going to move into, we did this last week. So it's a supported pigeon stretch, which is good for that tight left hip, right? Yep. So what that looks like if you're on this is you kind of sit on the bolster, bring one foot in front of it, one leg in front of it with the shin parallel to the short edge of your mat. Extend your other leg long. Now here's the deal, Dara, if you put your bolster long ways across your mat, crossways the other way. Yeah, there you go. Now, if you get here and you're like this, your hips are not ready. They're not there yet. That's not today for you, right? So if you don't feel like you can pretty well even your hips out, come off of the bolster onto your back and stretch your hip like this. Same principle, just different alignments for different hips. Wherever you are in your pigeon, take a moment just to sit up nice and tall. Feeling the stretch in the low back. Then walking the arms forward. The hands or the forearms can find blocks to bring the mat up to you. They can, and then the blocks can be high, or you can go on your back. There you go. We'll take about 40 seconds on this side. Breathing deep into the hip of the knee that's bent. Remembering that this is clearing out the baggage, the things that we hold on to. With every breath, you breathe a little bit of space. With every exhale, you can release something that you hold on to. Pressing into the hands, come back up to kind of sit on your bolster. And then you can come over into tabletop or even child's pose. Push back into child's pose for a moment to transition. Deep inhale, audible exhale, sigh it out. Push back up to a seat and bring the other leg in front, whichever leg wasn't in front last time. Again, it's perfectly okay to be on your, put a blanket under your hips. I realize you're low, yeah, yeah. Put a blanket under your hips. That's another, if the bolster's too high, you can put a blanket. Sorry, I didn't notice that at first. All right, cool. Good. Sitting up nice and tall. And then we start to walk the hands forward for the forward fold. With each inhale, inviting space. With each exhale, releasing what you no longer need. Pressing into the hands, pushing yourself off the bolster, coming back into child's pose again, just for a moment of transition. Big inhale. Once you get there, big inhale, audible exhale. Let go of whatever needs to be released. You can press into your hands and we'll transition to Shavasana. So Shavasana is our final resting pose. So you can go back into that same Stonehenge that we were in at the beginning of class, if that felt good on your legs, on your hips. Can lay flat on your back with maybe a blanket or a bolster under your knees. You can prop yourself up in what we call reclined bound angle, which Marcia is very kindly demonstrating for us. So you take your blocks. Yeah, it's the best. I may or may not spend about 15 minutes there when I get home every day. Nobody talk to me. I need my moment. Thank you very much. Yep. Hmm. So yeah, if you roll that blanket, you can wrap it around your feet and kind of tuck it under your hips. Yeah, that's good. And it's available to you whenever you want it. I'm going to turn some lights off. So as we begin this transition to Shavasana, to our final resting pose, I invite you to again scan through the body. Just notice what you notice. Notice what you want to hold on to and what maybe you can let go of. Allow the attention to settle somewhere in your physical body. Eyes can be open or closed, whatever will help you to feel safe. In this posture, the only goal is relief, is letting go. So whatever did or didn't happen in the last hour, let your body release. Give your body permission, give your nervous system permission to let go of what it no longer needs, to breathe fully into this moment and exhale fully in preparation for the next. For the next few inhales and exhales, let the breath become fuller, breathing a little bit more life back into the body, making small movements with the fingers and toes. Perhaps drawing the knees in, using the hands to draw the knees in if you're in a bound angle. And you can settle back into stillness on your back or on your side. As I read from the Yamas and Niyamas by Deborah Adele. About Aparigrapha, she says, non-attachment does not mean that we don't care or that we somehow shut ourselves off from the pleasures and joy of life and each other. In fact, non-attachment frees us up to be immersed in the appreciation of life and one another. We are asked to let go of the clinging to the thing, not the enjoyment of the thing itself. Like the breath, we're invited to breathe in deeply, enjoying the fullness of the inhalation, and then to let go just as deeply and fully, enjoying the release of the exhale. The fewer attachments we carry with us, the more we are free to enjoy and engage and live every moment before us to the fullest. The more breath we let go of, the more room there is in our body for the fullness of the next inhalation. The more generously we share and give away, the more expansive and light we become. The journey of life is toward freedom. A bird cannot hold its perch and fly. Neither can we grasp anything and be free. So over the next few breaths, slowly, gently, honoring the container that you've built, I invite you to come up to a seat facing the front of the room, finding the hands at heart center or in any other posture that connects yourself with your heart and your body. Allowing the eyes, the gaze to drift down to the hands, offering to yourself a moment of gratitude for showing up, for everything it took to get you here. I offer to you all huge gratitude for practicing with me today. Namaste. Thanks, guys. Hey. Yeah, it's my joy. I love it. Bye, Zoom world.